This is the
BrighterSpectrum podcast,
where we illuminate the world of parenting children with autism. I'm CJ, a proud dad to a wonderful 6-year-old with autism. Through my journey, I've discovered the challenges, triumphs, and unique experiences that come with raising a child on the spectrum. Inspired by those experiences, I created this space where parents like you can find understanding, share stories, and learn from each other. Join me as we explore insights, strategies, and support, all while celebrating the brighter spectrum of our children's lives. Now, let's dive in and cast light on this path together. Welcome back. Hanging out with me today is a nurse, 33 years old, single mom to 3-year-old Wyatt. Misty, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I'm really excited to have this conversation with you.
Thank you. Me too.
So you said in our pre-conversation that you've listened before, you kind of have a feel for it. So let's kind of like dive in there. Your son, Wyatt, he's 3, and you kind of had like a sort of a special circumstance when it came to having Wyatt in the first place, and then just kind of like raising him and what that was like. Let's hear your story, and then let's hear a little bit about your son.
Of course. So I had Wyatt via IVF, in vitro fertilization, with my now ex-husband. So we did 2 rounds of IVF before we had success. Wyatt was actually a twin, and we had lost the other baby at 7 weeks. Delivered Wyatt at 36 weeks early, had no NICU stay. Then I became a single mom when Wyatt was 3 months old. So I've been doing this by myself since he was 3 months old. Noticed around 10 months old of just him being different, falling behind on milestones. Outings were just very hard. Wyatt was actually always, I don't even like to use the word hard or difficult, but he was like an impossible to please baby. He had colic. So he's just always been challenging. And then at his 12-month well visit, he was diagnosed global developmental delay and speech development delay, and was referred to physical therapy and speech therapy because he wasn't walking or talking. And then not meeting other certain milestones. So we started out with those therapies because nobody wanted, I don't think they diagnosed before 18 months, is what they were telling me, or it's not as common.
Okay.
But at 18 months, the doctor gave us the referral to developmental peds. As I'm sure every parent with a kid on the spectrum knows, I called everywhere. Wait lists were 18 to 24 months long, or they wouldn't even let you try to get an appointment because it's so insanely packed with people needing to be seen, which is really sad. And so I went to Doylestown to Dr. Brittany Lyman. She is a pediatric psychologist, and I paid for a private evaluation for an autism diagnosis so that I could get services for Wyatt. He was
Geez, I didn't even
diagnosed.
know that was available as like a
It
thing. I thought you had to go through developmental pediatrics.
So did I. I did so much research. I just wanted to give Wyatt the best chance that I possibly could, and I looked everywhere and I found out. I mean, I did pay $3,000
Whew.
cash. They do not accept insurance. It is 3 separate evaluations. You get a formal diagnosis. In my eyes now, completely worth it. Wyatt was diagnosed level 2 autism spectrum disorder.
Mhm.
Brittany had determined at the time that Wyatt might be completely nonverbal. My son
Wow.
now does not stop talking.
Yeah, mine's
Yeah.
starting to get there.
Yeah, so I had him 18 months old, started ABA therapy, which I know is controversial. I figured I would give it a
Mhm.
try. If it worked for us, it worked for us. If it didn't, I could pull him out. We did speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy. I work from home, so I'm very lucky. I could not have made any of this happen for Wyatt if I didn't have this opportunity to work from home. But I just poured my all into getting him therapies and following therapies at home. And now all of his therapists are just like, we cannot believe his progress. He has this drive, like he wants to learn all the time.
I feel like that's like one of the nice things, like the kids on the spectrum, they kind of have these very normal, like very typical aspects where like most children want to learn, and then
Mhm.
you kind of see it with these kids, and it's kind of relieving when you kind of get to sit down and be like, okay, and like they actually pay attention, they absorb the stuff, and it's nice.
Absolutely. And Wyatt is not like neurotypical wanting to learn. Like he wants to know why the hinges are opening the cabinets or what is making our ceiling fan go around. Like it is fascinating to me. And one of the things Wyatt can name every aquatic animal on this earth by the correct name. And I mean, I'm talking, he knows the difference between a bottlenose dolphin, an hourglass dolphin, a river dolphin. Like he has an obsession
Have you
with
ever made the
sea life.
mistake of misnaming one?
Oh, yes. And he will correct me. He,
Right, with the absolute most amount of disdain ever in his voice,
like
right?
he acts like he's appalled that I did not know what that animal was. And actually, I'm kind of, so he's my only child. I had no idea what kind of fish Dory was, but he kept holding Dory from Finding Nemo and he kept saying blue tang. And I'm like, there is no way that is, and I Googled what kind of fish Dory was, and it is a blue tang. And I was like, I don't know how he knows these.
Sounds like you have a budding marine biologist on your hands there.
I hope so because that was something I wanted to do when I was younger.
It certainly would be interesting.
It
My
would be.
my little guy is obsessed with construction vehicles and farm equipment, and he's the same way. I gave him an excavator once, and I was like, "Here, buddy, here's your bulldozer." And he looked at me like I just said the most offensive thing in the world, and
Yes.
then got that like head bob and went excavator. Like I was an idiot. And I was like, "All right."
Yep. So we have pushed through therapies, and actually, this fall is the least amount of therapy Wyatt will receive. He was ABA therapy 5 days a week, 8 to 12 for 2 years.
Wow. I just had recently two other parents on, and we kind of talked a little bit about ABA. And I had one parent say that, yes, it worked, but they would use it as an absolute last resort. And
Mhm.
then another parent was like, it really worked. They recommend it right out the gate. Go ahead and get it. Kind of like what is your stance on ABA? Because it is a really controversial topic.
So, my stance is that every parent should do their own research and do what they feel is best for their child. And if they kind of don't know, like I didn't, there is no handbook. And I always say that to my mother. I'm like, I wish I just knew if I was helping or hurting. But what I said when I enrolled him is if it's not for him, then I don't have to continue to do it. ABA therapy was for him. He did amazing. Now, I will say after 2 years of 5 days a week, I noticed that Wyatt was picking up behaviors from the other children that he did not already exhibit. So I knew it was time to pull back from that. So now he is in regular preschool 2 days a week and ABA therapy 2 days a week. Um, so I wanted him to have the mixture of neurotypical and neurodivergent, um, you know,
When you said like
care.
behaviors from the other kids, um, like were they like negative behaviors
They
that like you
were.
didn't like?
So he was not a huge self injury. Um, behavior child until I want to say the last 6 months. And I do know that the one group at ABA therapy that he was in had a couple of children that, wore the helmets, and they did have that. And now he now has a helmet. And I'm not saying he wouldn't have picked these up. I just feel like some of it's learned behavior, because at the end of the day, our kids are just like any other kids, and they are going to pick up things that they see.
Yeah,
Um,
especially coping mechanisms.
Yes, and now we are dealing really badly with head hitting, with denied access. Denied access has always been Wyatt's biggest problem. I don't know. Is your son an only child?
Yes, yes, yes. I
Yeah.
was very sort of similar to you. We didn't have to use IVF for him, my ex and I, but he was a very active choice. It wasn't like we just kind of oopsed one day, which
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that, but it was. I've been very careful my entire life. Believe it or not, for most of my life, I had absolutely zero interest in having children. I didn't like kids. I didn't like being around them. I
That
didn't want
is
anything
the
to do
same
with
here.
them.
Yep.
And then one day I just kind of like woke up and I was like, I'm 29. Well, no, I'm sorry. I was 28. And I was like, well, I guess it's now or never, right? So,
That was me. I was 28 and I was like, I've grown up, I've lived my young life, and I'm very happy with, the things I've done, and I had my fun, and I was like, maybe now is the time that I do this. And I had Wyatt when I was 29. So,
yep. Yep. Same,
yeah,
same.
it wasn't no accident that so, and then I tell everybody I thought it was more glamorous than it is, but it does have lots of glamorous moments.
Right. Right. And I think we appreciate those little glamorous moments because the other 85% of the time
Mhm.
we're just tired and very
Yes.
frustrated.
Yes, and it is so funny because I feel that a lot of people hear about it, but even friends that I've had, until they spend a lot of time with you, they do not get it. And even my best friend, we've been best friends for 10 years, and this summer was probably the most time that we have spent together. And she's like, I really had no idea that that is what your life is like on a daily basis.
Yeah. Yeah, and I can kind of tell from your tone there you kind of want to talk a little bit about some of those challenges.
Yes.
Oh, I forgot to banish my birds from the room. I'm going to let you talk about challenges while I go evict them. I'll be right back.
Okay. Wyatt has a lot of challenges with accepting change in routine. He does not like his routine changed. He doesn't like loud noises. He does not enjoy eating food. He actually um, only eats chicken nuggets and french fries. That's the only actual food he eats. He will eat anything crunchy. So feeding has been very challenging for us. Mealtime is challenging. He does not like to sit still at all. So all day he wants to either be playing, or he wants his snacks on the go. But his food choices are very poor. And we ended up giving up on feeding therapy for now.
Hmm.
Um, I think we're just gonna give the feeding thing time.
You know, um, I don't know if you heard my episode with Dr. Keith Williams.
That is actually the first episode I clicked on when I went to your podcast.
So okay, his book actually really helped me with a similar situation,
Uh,
and I actually know him in real life, so I get lots of free medical advice. And something that he advised me to do that worked really well with Logan is I feel like the same situation when it comes to feeding is like I had like a trampoline for him, and
mhm.
it's gotten a lot better in the last 2 years now. Um, So what I would do is I would tell him, if you have 3 bites, you can go jump on the trampoline for 1 minute.
Hmm.
And then he would do that, and then he would come back, and it was like a trade back and forth. And eventually I extended like the amount of bites. Like you need like
Yeah.
5 bites, 6 bites, he can, for the most part, sit through a meal provided I let him bring either like a tablet or a toy to the table.
Yes. So I do let Wyatt bring his tablet to the table, but the only actual meal he eats is chicken nuggets and french fries. Everything else is just like muffins, donuts, goldfish are I'm pretty sure he ate nothing but goldfish for 6 months straight because I literally could not get him to eat anything else. Um, that is just so obviously, like, taking him to a restaurant is so challenging because he doesn't like loud noises, he doesn't like to be around a lot of people, and he doesn't like food.
Yeah.
S
Yeah.
Yeah, so, it people don't realize, and it's funny, my mom and I talk about it, like, before I had kids, I would hear that kid in the grocery store, and I would be like, "Oh, control your child," or something, and then now, like, I don't even notice other people's children because I get it.
I will notice their kids, and I've talked about this with other people too. Um, I can now tell the difference between
Mhm.
a kid either like stimming or having a meltdown
Yep.
and a neurotypical kid just being a brat.
Yes.
Like, and I can intuitively know the difference now.
Yes, and I say that too, like, I will see a kid and I'll be like, "Oh, that kid is probably has autism and he's stimming," and you notice it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. And then there are times occasionally where I still think, "Get control of that child."
Yes. There are times I am in the store thinking I need to get control of my child too, so it's okay.
Yeah, yeah, I do as well.
Yes. I do.
Fortunately, at this point, he's gonna be 7, and,
Mhm.
I've kind of gotten to the point where he doesn't really act up very much inside stores.
That's good.
It was a hard fought task though. It really was.
That's what I keep saying, I do try to not let his diagnosis change everything I do because I still need him to be independent,
Mhm.
um, as independent as he can, and I think that's very important for him. And then I also struggle with sometimes I think I'm over spoiling to compensate for his lost relationship with his dad because his dad does not
Yeah,
come around. So,
that's a shame. That's a
yeah, so
shame.
I feel like I'm always, but I don't want to create that spoiled brat. You know what I mean? Out of trying to make up for something. So it's a constant battle with that too.
Um, have you ever considered doing like the Big Brother program? I wonder if they offer like a Big Brother that
I
has experience with autism. I wonder if
do
it's a thing.
not even know what the Big Brother program is, if I'm being honest.
Oh, okay. So the Big Brother program is like they have like an older kid, he's like a teenager, and they come and they spend time with your kid, and they
Oh,
are like a stand-in sibling.
okay.
So they get like some of that sort of reaction, but you can like get like a big brother for him to come by once in a while. These kids are doing like community service and stuff, and um it's kind of a nice thing. I've never personally been through it, but I've known plenty of kids growing up who had big brothers or big sisters, and they loved the program. So I wonder if they have kids who like, hey, you want to
I
be a
am
big brother
gonna
to a kid
look
with
into that.
autism? Yeah, you'll have to let me know um,
Yes.
if that's a thing that they do. So with some of the challenges you're having, are you having any success in like mitigating them, and like, or maybe you have like some strategies?
So I am seeing progress, but as I'm sure you know, with Logan, some days it feels like we're taking 5 steps forward, and the next day it's like it's all gone. But that
Yes.
doesn't mean, obviously, that we stop trying.
He's also at that age.
Yes, he is, and there is no discipline that bothers him. Like, he doesn't care if you take his tablet away. He doesn't care if he has to sit in timeout for 3 minutes. Like, he just I think that there's probably some of that oppositional defiance disorder highlighted, very highlighted in his autism diagnosis. Um, that we will probably be addressed later if things don't change. Even his regular pediatrician had mentioned medication, but I don't think I'm ready for that yet. Wyatt
Yeah.
has, he hits me, he bites me, he headbutts me, he pinches me, and thankfully it's only me. Like, he doesn't do that to other people. It's just a frustration thing with me. And I do understand that it's a communication barrier because he can't always tell me exactly. Yes, he says lots of words, but 98% of the time he's talking about the ocean.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's not actually like I'm not feeling well or I need a drink or so. I think as we get there, the behaviors will decrease, hopefully.
Yeah, yeah. It's a combination. I had a really similar experience with Logan. Um and like a lot of it is age, right? We have the terrible twos, three-nagers, and what I like to call the FU fours. And four was the absolute worst. Like I wasn't sure I was gonna make it, right? And then
Right.
once once four passed and we started relax, dude. Um Four passed and we wow, he's being vocal today. Bud, you know some of that silence you usually do? Would you held on to it all until it was on the microphone? My guy? Wow. Um yep, that's life, everybody.
Yeah.
But so like with him, as he got into five, it started getting better, and it was like, thank you, God, and like it was like noticeable, and like these moments of relief, because like you kind of know what scenarios and how they operate and certain, and then like you just tense up because you're waiting for it to happen, and then it doesn't,
Yes.
and you're like,
Yep.
oh my God, he didn't do it this time. And then like when it came to discipline, Logan did not care about anything either. You took his tablet, he would
That
find
is
something
why
else to
it.
do.
Mhm.
I started trying weird stuff, right?
Mhm.
Like I made him hold a book above his head. That didn't work. Uh just a series of things. And then eventually what ended up working was I parked him on the second step of a staircase. I don't know what it is about the second step, but he absolutely went bonkers.
Oh my
It's okay if
gosh.
he's on the first step, the third, fourth, fifth step, doesn't matter. Those steps are okay. The second step, that is a world ending punishment.
Wow.
And right. So like you try everything. Like
Yes.
just obnoxious stuff, make him stand on his head, you know, just
Oh,
whatever. And then you'll
he
find something. You'll be like, gotcha.
so the only thing that actually has helped so far, the slightest bit, is if I put him in a chair and he cannot see me.
Mm,
Like, if
hmm.
I turn it backwards, if I am out of his sight, he loses it. But that only worked temporarily. I feel like, so I make progress. I'll find something that works and make progress, and then he eventually stops caring. But then I find something else. So I always am able to find something else.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I feel like once we get one thing under control, here comes another thing. No, I think it's the different stages of them growing up.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
each stage has this like challenge that by the time you figure it out, they're already moving on to the next stage.
Right. Right. And it's like as that like individualism kind of develops in them, I feel like maybe then
Yeah,
it's easier to find something. Because I
yeah,
mean, regardless of the autism, they're still kids. They still need discipline, right?
of
And
course.
I feel like I don't know what you've seen in some of the support groups, but it does feel like a lot of parents are like really like wary of like the idea of like discipline, because like
I
I guess you gotta
agree.
like you feel bad. You're like, I'm disciplining a disabled child. It's like, no, you're disciplining
Yes.
a child who
Right.
has a disability.
Mhm.
Discipline that kid, and I don't
Yep.
know how to really respond to a lot of those parents when I see it.
Yes, and then it's also, like, something that's hard to talk about because they like, I do we don't necessarily let things slide just because Wyatt's autistic, because he's still
Hmm.
a child and he still has the same almost 4-year-old behavior as any other neurotypical child, and which is, I
Right.
want my way and I want it now. And it's my job to teach him that that's not how life is going to work.
Right. And that seems to be like really like more important in some ways with our kids, them like a neurotypical kid you can sometimes just kind of talk to, right, and be like,
Yes.
hey, you shouldn't do this because of this.
Mhm.
And like the kids with the autism, it's like, you shouldn't do this because this is going to happen to you if you don't,
Yes.
like, and it's not going to be like the thing that hurt you. I can't communicate to you that that's going to hurt you because you're not going to understand and you're going to do it
Mhm.
anyway, and then I'm going to be like, see, you learned the hard way, but the
Yep.
punishment is what's going to happen to you,
Yes.
it's, oh,
Like
but then
Wyatt
you do feel
has
guilty.
you do, because they don't understand and you can't. It's so funny because I actually just said to my friend last night, I said, if I could just be in his head, life would be easier because
Would
I
it
can
though?
tell him.
Would it?
I mean, I don't know. I just feel that way because I just, like, I can tell him, Wyatt, you cannot do that. It's dangerous. He will repeat that's dangerous. So he has that. He repeats everything over and over and over and over and
Hmm.
over when he hears it. But he doesn't understand any aspect of danger. I don't know if your son is the same way. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, he would run out on the street and I will even be like, "You see mommy's big car? Like they're driving, it can hurt, like that can seriously hurt you." And he's just has no recollection of anything with fear.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, like, there are often times now, I haven't tried it personally, but like there were times like I've wondered, do you know those, oh, you remember like when you were in high school, maybe like the kids would walk around with them, you like the pack of gum that had like the little mouse trap in it, or like the pen that would
Yes.
zap you. Like
Yes.
I've always wondered if I like sat it down and I was like, don't touch that. It's dangerous.
Mhm.
And then if like they pick it up and zap themselves, like, man, I told you, dangerous,
Yeah.
hurts. If that would communicate it, or if they would just be afraid of pens, which
Right.
may not be all that bad anyway. My walls would be thrilled if he was afraid of pens.
Yes. I feel that to my core.
it's
Everything
it.
goes on the wall.
Oh my god, everything, food,
Yes.
crayons, markers, pens,
Mm.
the dog, like
Yep.
everything on the wall. And he's
Yep.
like, what are you doing, kid? What are you doing?
Yep, I agree. And it is every day. I feel like I'm learning just as much as him. I mean, as you both of us were first-time parents, first of all, and now we are first-time parents of children with autism, which I it was
Hmm.
very hard for me to accept. And not even accept. It was very hard for me to feel like I could do this on my own.
How about it?
It was very challenging. I mean, my best friend, not my son's dad, didn't even show up to his autism evaluation. My best friend did.
Mm.
And when she gave me the paperwork and she confirmed that he was autistic, my best friend, Heather, she was like, you're going to put him in his car seat and we're going to take 5 minutes and you're going to cry. And then we're going to sit in the car and we're going to figure out how we're going to do this.
Yeah.
And I would say for the first year, I felt like I was going to wake up one day and he wasn't going to be autistic. I don't know why. And so my mental health after his diagnosis really suffered
Hmm.
because, again, I don't know what I'm doing as far as being a parent, and now I have to figure out being a parent to a child with autism.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and at the time, thinking my child was going to be nonverbal, and he has only been verbal for about 7 months. So, trying to figure out the wants and needs and dealing with we haven't even started potty training yet. Like, it's just, it took a toll on me. I took a mental health leave from my job because it was just, it consumed me. Like, the first year consumed me of research, and all I wanted to do was help him and not hurt him, but I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I had a very similar experience because he's my first child too.
Mhm.
He's my only child. And absolutely nobody around me that I knew of at the time had
Mhm.
autistic children.
Yep.
So that standard like support system, like of course like my mom was there, as much as she could be, like
Right.
and helping with what she did understand, like certain cries, oh he's hungry, oh screaming in the middle of the night, I can't get him to stop, oh you have to do this, okay, and that all works. But like when it came to actually dealing with the autistic part, I had zero support.
Yeah.
Nobody knew what was going on, nobody knew what to do. All of it, well, you got to do this, and like, it doesn't work. What do you mean it doesn't work? It doesn't
Yeah.
work. And you're just like, oh man, so yeah, I 100% get it. And then you sit there and you have to cry a little bit and kind of like let it out.
You do.
And
You feel alone. You do. Like, it is the most lonely feeling. And like, I'm
mhm,
like you, I none of my friends have children with autism. And even this summer was the first vacation. We went to Ocean City, Maryland with my mom and my dad and me and Wyatt. And it was the longest that they have been around Wyatt and I in like one consecutive period of time.
mhm.
And when we came home from that vacation, my mom was like, I'm not saying I didn't believe you, but I had no idea. And it's kind of relieving. It sucks to say that, but it's relieving to know that somebody else can understand a little bit more, especially when they're a huge part of your support system.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, I was actually very fortunate where when we actually finally got the diagnosis, there was a whole very unpleasant couple of years trying to convince my ex that he was autistic and
Mhm.
getting her on board. A lot of people really experience a lot of denial when it comes to
Mhm.
that, and it was tough. But we got the thing, we got that diagnosis, and my mom kind of like jumped right into it, right? Like just
Mhm.
starting to do the research and learning whatever she can, and like once in a while would text something to me like, oh hey, check this out, I saw this. So it was nice. I had somebody who was learning kind of like alongside me in a way.
Mhm.
Um, so which was kind of
My mom
supportive in
did that
itself.
too. Yes,
Yeah.
but I think actually seeing it, like, she sends me articles and she tells me things that she read that could help, and but I think actually seeing firsthand the aggression that Wyatt's aggression is mainly towards me. So, like, when she has
Hmm.
him, he's good for her. He doesn't do the things that he does, like, when he's home with me. Um so I just think that that was just completely, like, my mom was blown away. And that's what she said. She's like, "How do you help?" And I said, "I don't know how she helps. Like, I don't know how anybody else can help. I kind of just live with it."
Right. Right.
Mhm.
If it brings you any kind of hope, from what I've seen from other people, a lot of times they grow out of it. And
And that is
sometimes they
my
don't, but a lot of
I
times they do.
know. And that's what I keep when people talk about how, like, they don't really want to discipline their child with autism spectrum disorder. I don't want my kid is not going to be 4 forever. I don't want my 14-year-old doing the things that my 4-year-old does to me. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Right.
that's gonna be a bigger problem than me disciplining him now for these behaviors.
Right, because at 14 it's kind of like too late. They're
Right.
humongous, and then what do you do? Like, they get violent, you have to defend yourself and you floor them. Well, now you're a bad
Right.
parent because you dropped them onto the floor, and it's like,
Right.
what do you want me to do? Like, go
Yeah.
to the hospital for 75 stitches? Like,
Yeah.
so it really is like a really tough sort of scenario where it's like, man, do what you can. I know a lot of people in those circumstances often get the residency programs for their kids,
Mhm.
and I had talked to somebody else who had great success with a residency program, John Fella,
Yeah.
um, and it seems like that residency program is working out really really well for him. But it's got to be very hard. I'm very fortunate. I don't deal with aggression.
That's
I just
good.
deal with a ton of back talk, which drives me insane. He's got something to say about everything, and it's not
Uh-huh.
always like English either. It's like, knock it off, and he just at me, and I'm
Yes,
like,
Wyatt does that too, the random, like, noise, and I'm just like, "What even was that?"
right, that was, I didn't like that you told me no. Like, it
Yep.
was a paragraph's worth of complaining and just a shout.
Oh my gosh,
Eh,
no is such a trigger word in this house.
yeah, yeah.
Even if I'm not
Oh,
talking to Wyatt and it is no, he's losing it, and I'm like, "I was not even talking to you, sir."
I'm sorry, I'm back.
That's okay.
My little guy just had I have a lot of very expensive audio equipment, and he just got one of my headsets and was hardcore blowing into one of the microphones,
Oh, yes.
and it might be broken now. So,
Oh my goodness. That is life too. I've gone
yep.
I obviously work from home, so I'm sure my background noise when I'm working sounds a lot like yours right now. Wyatt has entertainment for himself, which is my best friend Heather out there right now. But I've gone through keyboards,
Hmm.
mouse, like it has all been just, and no matter what, there is no shame in his game to mess up my stuff.
Yeah, yeah. He's broken a couple of game controllers. He's very fond of the Xbox. He's broken a handful of controllers. He now has his own controller that he has to use. Um, and he's pretty good. He's over there talking to the leopard gecko right now. That's what
Aw.
all that noise is.
So does
Um,
your son like animals?
he loves pretty much all animals. He will only touch a select few.
Okay.
So I have 7 lizards. He will play with the leopard gecko, and that is it. Um, which is fine because the other lizards don't want anything to do with him.
Yeah.
He will pet the dog. He absolutely loves the cat. The cat hates him. She
Him and Wyatt are literally like one and the same, I think.
yeah, like the cat will tolerate him petting her for 5 or 6 seconds, and then she hisses at him and runs away.
Mhm. Yeah,
But he
so
loves them all.
Wyatt, I have no animals. I don't know how I could have any more responsibility than Wyatt, really. I so hats off to you because there is no way. But my mom has a dog and a cat, and my Wyatt can just he has hit Maggie, he's pulled her ears and but loves the cat. Like wants to run around and like touch the cat's tail. The cat wants nothing to do with him.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, we went through a little bit of a stage with hitting and kicking the dog.
okay.
There were like 2 or 3 incidences. They were reprimanded very very quickly.
Okay.
Um, obviously, we're not out here hitting these kids, but
Of course.
as soon as he would like kick the dog, I was up out of the chair. It was like very fast
Mhm.
and very frightening. Out of the chair, grab
Right.
a hold of him, yell at him, put him in timeout. You
Yep.
know, make sure that it's like,
Stern.
yeah,
It's
and
like
like,
this is serious.
yeah, and it was enough of a shock factor, fear inducing moment
Mhm.
that after the third time we did it, we realized this is what happens when I do this, and we stopped.
Yeah. See, and none of that bothers Wyatt, which is he has. That's where I think the ODD is probably taking a huge role with his autism, which I will touch on more with a
Hmm.
pediatrician as he gets older, because he's still pretty young. And I'm still going to continue to try different methods of discipline and see what works, if anything, for him. But even like if I get loud, if I I've tried it all, except I do not spank. That is not my thing. I to each their own. I don't see, because in my eyes is Wyatt has a problem with hitting me, so I'm not going to obviously turn around and hit him. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't see a problem with spanking children, provided you get the desired effect, right? Like the goal isn't like hurting the kid or like causing like a traumatic incident, right? Like it's
Right, or
different.
doing it out of your own anger.
Right. So if like, you're not marking them, they're not bruised up,
Hmm.
they're not like permanently messed up or anything like
Yeah.
that, and the behavior changes.
Yes.
Okay. But obviously this isn't like a go-to punishment either, right? Like that's
And
not something.
Wyatt, no, no, not at all. Wyatt likes deep input as well. Like, even if we joke around and like he will want me to hit him with a pillow as hard as I can, I do not do it. But he is literally like, again, harder. And he just likes that deep input.
Mhm.
But then we try the compression vest, we try the weighted blankets, and it's like not enough
Does he
for
have a
him.
Huggimal?
I do not know what that is.
It's a weighted stuffed animal. So like instead of like
Okay.
them wearing it or you putting it on them, it's something they can pick up and hold.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like
That,
something my mom found. She got it for Logan. Amazing. It's so
okay.
good. They're expensive as crap. They're like $100,
That
but
listen, you know that you have a child on the spectrum when you will buy anything that has the opportunity to help.
yeah,
Because
and
even with his therapist, she's like, "Well, maybe you can rent one. I don't have time. Like, I'll just buy it, and if it don't work, I will find another parent with a child on the spectrum that can use it, I'm sure."
yeah, yeah, and you know what? They come in all kinds of different animals too. So like, there's like fish and
Oh,
turtles and stuff too.
I am probably going to purchase one right when we're done here.
Yeah, I think they're like 5 or 7 pounds, I think is what it is. It's enough weight that like you hand it to them and it's like they get that feedback, but it's not like a worn thing. So it's not like smothering them. It's like a very it's like it's something that's in their control, I think is why
Yes.
it's worked so well.
And I think that that is what Wyatt needs, because that's the thing too, is he likes to be in control. Like, he doesn't, when I hold him, he wants to be close. He doesn't like to not feel secure or in control.
Yes. Yeah. That's a big thing. That is a big thing.
It is.
Um Mine is trying to steal the TV remote from me right now because he'd really like to crank the volume up.
Oh,
Um
Wyatt does that too. Hmm.
Yeah, no, that's what it's like. It's crazy, right? Like they want the TV on at full blast, but if you take them outside and there's a car horn, not a
Yes,
fan.
it's too much. Yep. Yep. That is Wyatt.
And you're like, bro, that was 3 blocks away. Like,
Yes. And you wonder, like, what that triggers in their brain. It's literally just every day is a guessing game.
it really is. It really is.
And it's
Um,
so funny because my friends, I told you, they're out there watching White, and I can hear them. They are trying so hard to keep him entertained. Like, you can hear it in their voices. And it's just funny because when we deal with this every day, like, I'm sure you and Logan just have a routine, and so do Wyatt and I. Like, we just do. And when you take away from that routine, so they're out there, like, I hear them trying to cheer him on, and he likes Wyatt loves praise, like super loud praise. He wants you to tell him how great he is, which I think is awesome. Um, and that's what keeps him happy. So that's what they're out there doing right now.
yeah, yeah. So me and Logan's mom don't live together anymore, and so he
Yeah.
has different routines at the household. I'll tell you, I just picked him up today and brought him home,
Uh,
and for the first couple of hours, oh, it's obnoxious. He will typically relax after a couple. Oh yeah, yeah. Well, you can't have my phone, dude.
We can't go.
No, you can't have it.
We can't go Spotify.
You want to say hi?
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, so you're ready? Go.
Yeah, buddy. Go play your game. Oh, I know it's horrible. I told you to play video games. I'm such a bad dad. I know because you're dead. Um,
Yeah,
but
that has to be hard.
it is because the routine break and stuff.
Mhm.
He gets a little he gets his chakras realigned pretty quickly,
Yeah.
and fortunately we're able to kind of get him going. It's a little mentally taxing.
I'm
Um,
sure that's not easy. I have not had to do that. I've had full physical custody of Wyatt his whole life. So
mhm.
his dad is supervised visitation only, which he has used a handful of times. So I have not had that kind of routine break. So
Yes.
I don't know how you do it.
The first couple of times was rough. Um, got get used to it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Normally, if I bring him in, one of the first things I do is throw him in a shower because they love water.
Yes, Wyatt loves water.
Yeah. So I throw him in a shower, and he kind of like gets into that, and that's something that we do at home.
Hmm.
When I lived with his mom, as soon as I come home from work, I get him off the bus, and I work a labor intensive job, so I'm always gross. Um, and I hop in the shower with him, and it's like an opportunity to like kind of teach him how to bathe himself, and in a
Yeah.
way it's like bonding too, but it's the water. So
Yes.
just we got here and threw him in the shower. Okay, we're kind of getting back into the routine. And then after that, we always had like a snack or dinner or something. So I sit him down and I make him eat. And it's a different place. It's a different, sort of setup, a different table. But
Yeah.
the food is the same.
Hmm.
So we kind of like, okay, and we're like relating to it. And then uh after about 3 to 4 hours, he kind of gets his life together, and we're
Yeah.
back in like I'm with dad now, and we do have different views of how parenting should work, and we have different rule sets and different routines in the houses when
Yeah.
he's with me and then when he's with her, which is a little bit difficult at times. Um, but I feel like he's kind of gotten a grasp of that. Like once I get it through into his head, like you're a dad's now.
Hmm.
He
He can
kind of like
comprehend
level.
that a little.
Yeah, he like levels out,
Yeah.
and then he's fine, and he's pretty much being okay now. It was a
That's
little rough
good.
today. He did get
Yeah.
scolded pretty hard a little bit
Yeah.
ago. But I mean that is what that is, right?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I treat him as much as I can like a neurotypical kid. I do cater
That I do the
to
same.
the
Yep.
issue. Yeah.
That's what I am sensitive to the fact that his thought process is different, but my parenting style is very for a neurotypical child. And part of that is my son is high functioning autism.
Hmm.
Uh, I can tell my son to throw something away. He throws it away. When he's done his snack, he puts his plate in the sink. Like we have the same set of this is how you do things. And I try not to use the word autism too much as a crutch because I have ADHD. I've had ADHD my whole life.
Hmm.
But I know as a child and teenager, I played that card to my advantage to get what I want because that's what kids do. That is
Right.
completely what human nature does as a child and teenager. So I just don't want that to be something that he lets himself fall short. I let myself fall short in high school because I had ADHD. Then, as an adult, when I grew up, I got over that excuse and I got a nursing degree with, you know what I mean, with no help or no 504 plan. So I don't want to ever hold him back from a diagnosis, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
No, 100%. And honestly, I feel like it's good for us as parents too, like mentally, right? Because as
Hmm.
much as we love our ASD kids, we really do crave some of that very typical experience, right?
Yes. Yep.
So being able to do that on any level is almost therapeutic. And I mean, as an ASD parent, it is a mental roller coaster
It
sometimes.
is.
And,
It is.
I don't think I've met a
And
single one of us at this point who doesn't have some kind of depression or
oh,
anxiety going
absolutely.
on. And like we all have these different ways of taking care of it. And like we get in our own heads. And like that's honestly one of the reasons I do this podcast. It's therapy
Yeah,
for me. I get to talk to
I
all you
agree.
guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, that's what when his pediatrician recommended medicating him at 3 years old, I said, I am medicated. I will medicate myself before I
Hmm.
medicate my 3-year-old, and we're going to keep this ball rolling, and we'll discuss medication at what works for me as an age appropriate time, because for me, 3 years old is not age appropriate for medicating, but it is. And then you're a
You
single
still have a
parent on
chance
top
to
of
like
it.
do stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Speaking about
And
medication,
mhm,
there's people in the groups, and I've seen them. I've seen bots doing it, but there are like actual people who they push CBD gummies on
mhm.
autism parents, like to give to their kids, like almost
Yes.
like the Dare Lion should have warned us about these people in high school,
All
you know.
right.
And have you ever tried that? Like you say, you're not really into the whole
I
medication
have
idea, but it's sort of like that naturalistic, like holistic approach.
I have not ever tried that. I have tried like cutting out the red dyes, which is really, really hard. Not that it's ever, I mean, there is no cure, but it's supposed to help with behaviors. But honestly, adding all of that extra, like, oh, cut this out or do this, it just created more stress where, you know what, we
Mhm.
are just winging it out here. I'm just going to follow what I feel works for my child.
Plus, you're in that
But the
situation too where it's like,
CBD,
he eats 3 things, you're asking me to cut out 2 of them. No.
right, right, and that's if he's eating, he's eating. Honestly, I get comments all the time of people about his eating, and at first it was very hard, but now I'm like, you know what? You don't live what I live every day, and I am
Mhm.
glad that my kid's eating those goldfish because at least he's eating. Because there was a time where my kid was almost failure to thrive and was going to need a feeding tube. So you eat those goldfish.
Yes. Oh my god. It reminds me, a couple of months ago, and I was working with Dr. Williams' book, and, my we were driving past, Denny's, and he asked to go to Denny's. Now, I'd never taken this kid really to, like, a restaurant for, like, a sit-down meal, and I was like, "You know what?" I looked at him and I said, "If you try a french fry, I'll take you to Denny's." And he said, "Okay." So I whipped it into that parking lot so fast, and
Yep.
he ate this french fry and decided he liked french fries and started eating the whole, and, like, I'm sitting there at the table cheering like it was a football game, and people are looking at me, and and I'm like, "He ate a french fry," and they're like, "Cool, man."
And you're just like, no, he ate a french fry. That is
So I
funny.
totally
Wyatt,
get it.
same thing. Yeah, we passed a Rita's once. So Wyatt does not eat anything wet. He doesn't eat anything hot,
Mhm.
anything cold. Like everything has to be room temperature. Um, we were passing a Rita's, and I don't know where he saw or experienced. They have these iPads now, so who knows? But we
Mhm.
passed a Rita's. He said, I want ice cream. I said, okay. I pulled into Rita's. I just did vanilla with sprinkles to try that. And he ate that whole ice cream. And I was just like you. I'm sitting out there. I'm like, keep going, buddy. Like, good job. And because my kid has not eaten anything like that before, and it's ice cream, it's not healthy. I don't care. He tried something new. And to me, I will take it. And now he will only eat vanilla ice cream from Rita's, but he still will eat it.
At least it's got some dairy in it, right?
Yep. Yep, he got
Getting a
his
little bit of something in there.
he's getting his calcium. But yeah, it's the littlest victories that are just like you're so excited where other parents are just like, okay, like it's definitely a different world, and we celebrate things much differently. And I always tell people, I don't get up. take my kid to daycare, go to work, pick my kid up from daycare, come home, feed him dinner, give him a bath, read him a bedtime story. I get up, I struggle to get him to eat breakfast. I take him to therapy. I'm working at I'm coming home and working. I'm picking him up from therapy. I'm having a therapist then come in my home while I'm working. And then when I'm done working, we're usually doing an outpatient therapy. And then it's just a different you I don't feel like I get to just be a mom. Like that is
Yeah.
my biggest thing is I feel like I was robbed of that, and I hate saying it like that, but I do. Like that's just raw and real. Is I feel like I am constantly having to learn and do therapies, and I wouldn't trade any of that for the world, but I just would love to feel like just do mom stuff. Just do mom stuff. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
tell people my son puts in more hours a week in therapy than some people are even willing to work a job as an adult. um
Right.
and I'm just proud of him, but also in the same aspect, I just want it to be normal for him too. He doesn't get to just play all day, or it's therapy. It's constant therapy, and I know that it'll be worth it because I've already seen such progress, but it's still
Yeah.
hard to grasp that for him, almost every day of his life is just hard and having to work for something, and something as simple as expressing that he's thirsty.
Right. Oh my God. Basic needs. And then they can't tell,
Yes.
and then they're able to tell you some basic needs, and you're like, oh my God, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes. Just the basics, and it's just relieving, but it's so hard to get to that
Mhm.
point. It's so much harder than a neurotypical child, where usually by one, they can tell you, I want some milk, please, or I want, like, it's he's almost 4 and we're just getting to that point. But we
Yeah.
worked really freaking hard to get there. It wasn't
Yeah.
that this just came without both of us putting in so much work. And then as a
I
single mom, you think of it, you have to, yeah, or a single parent, you have to take care of your yard, you have to take care of your house, you have to take care of the laundry, you have to like, you don't have that other parent to even step in and help, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? What I do with Logan is I'm actually, when I have to do those chores, I make him help me.
Yeah, that's what we do now. Yep.
Yeah, and, like, if I'm doing laundry, I make him put it in the dryer, like, I pass him the
Yep.
stuff and make him because then I'm
And
keeping an
Wyatt
eye
loves
on
to
him
help.
and still getting his
Yes.
stuff done.
And when I mentioned to Wyatt that he's helping me, he is like so proud to be
Yes.
doing it.
Yes, to tell my son, "Big helper. You're a big
Yep.
helper."
Yep.
Yeah, they really do, they kinda glow a little bit, which is nice, it kinda gives you that feeling because I can totally empathize with the whole feeling like you're getting robbed of just being, like, that parent, like, there were so many
Yeah.
times where I just sat there and like, "Man, I just wanna be a dad."
Yep.
And, like, I am a dad. Like, at the end of the day, like I said, like, I am a dad, but there are things, and, if anybody's listening, like, "What do you mean?" It's like, and then, like, if this gives you any hope at all, uh, I'm an avid fisherman. There isn't a
Mhm.
whole lot more that I enjoy than getting out in the river and pulling some fish in, right?
Mhm.
And, all my friends are taking, like, their kids are 2 and 3 years old, and they're taking them and they're having a blast, and all I wanted to do, just that normal father-son
Yes.
taking fishing, and I did not get to do that until this summer, and he finally had the maturity and the coordination and the understanding that I was able to take him. Now, mind you, I had to sit him in my lap
Mhm.
and help him cast, and kind of like guide him. But when that fish
Mhm.
bit, he brought it in by himself.
Yeah.
And it was such a rewarding, like,
Yep.
now it was this,
And
for this
you're like,
half an
it's all
hour.
worth it. Yes.
Yeah, for this half an hour, I'm a normal dad,
Yep.
so
This was probably like, this is the summer Wyatt went in the ocean at the beach. I love the beach. I took him to Florida, first flight this summer, uh, first trip to Florida, and flying was extremely difficult. I questioned why I had planned this. But when we got there, it was probably one of the best vacations I've had with him. I've taken him on vacation every year since he was born. And that's the thing is you do see that silver lining and you do
Yeah.
have those moments where you're like, this is it. This is worth it.
Yeah, you look at your friends too, like you guys take it for granted.
Hmm.
Everything you're enjoying 24
Yep.
hours a day, I get to do it for an hour once a
Yep.
month. Like,
Yep.
yeah, oh, man. Hey,
Yep.
you took him fly, you didn't dose him? Oh,
I
unashamedly Dimetap.
No, I took him. We flew out of Allentown.
Mhm.
Actually found out lots of cool airports. So you get like a lanyard with a daisy on it, so the staff knows that he has a disability.
Yep.
Um, and then he got like this card. We didn't have to wait in line for security. We got to board first, which on the way back, we switched that and we chose to board last because boarding first was not a good call. The waiting process. I would rather chase them around the airport and board last.
Yeah. Yeah, for
Allentown
sure.
Airport has a sensory room.
Oh, no kidding.
Yes, they do. And it was awesome. And it's funny because in Punta Gorda, where we flew into in Florida, when we got to the airport, he immediately asked for the sensory room. And I said that they didn't, that airport didn't have one. So I think every airport should because that was a staple for my son. I guess that helped him. And he even
Yeah.
remembered it a week later coming back.
So I haven't put him on a plane. Actually, I just rode on a plane for the first time in my life last year.
Okay.
Um, I haven't done that, but I did take him on a car ride to Connecticut this past summer. We went up there and did a father-son trip. We were there for 3 days. Um, I didn't know what was in Connecticut at the time. I just kind of picked a town and said, "That's where we're
Yep.
going, dude." Turned out it was great. Um, I would definitely recommend going. Like the town of Mystic in Connecticut, they have an aquarium, and they actually let the kids play with the animals through the glass. So like
Oh,
where most aquariums don't, they're like, don't touch the glass. So like, go ahead,
yeah.
put your hands on the glass, and the penguins come down. They play with the kids, and then my kid got snotted on by a beluga whale.
Um, as
Um,
soon as we are done here, I'm going to message you and ask you because that is Wyatt's dream right there to be snotted on by a beluga whale. Like that would make his dreams come true.
they were they have a big tank full of them, and they kind of swim around, and I saw the whale. I guess this whale was bored, and it was just randomly spraying people, and I saw it coming towards us. And as soon as it surfaced, I didn't even try to save this child. I ducked. I was like, nope. And it just right in this kid's face, and he's laughing. This is the greatest experience of his life.
I love
And
that.
I'm like, you're covered in boogers, dude.
Yep. And he
um,
don't care.
I'll tell you what though, for that trip, he was good in the car and everything, but cargo pants, and I had sandwich bags. I had one sandwich bag full of Orbeez, one full of sand. What else did I
Hmm.
have? I had like one that was full of like cotton, I think.
That you
Um,
could just pass back.
yeah, I was certain ones. Like, I'm not letting you dump a bag of sand in my car.
Oh yeah,
Um,
no.
but if I needed to like stop, pull over, give you a couple minutes, put them back in my pocket, and go. We only had to pull over like once or twice, so
That's
that was
awesome.
nice. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it kind of gave him that moment, like, and they could like stick his hands in there and like the
Yeah.
different feelings and stuff, and then we kind of got our stuff
Get his
together.
sensory input before you move on.
Yes, yep,
Yep.
yep, yep. And then yeah, cargo pants are your best friend. No, they're not stylish at all,
I was
but
gonna say I don't know how stylish they are, but I'll stick it in my purse.
right. There you go. You need a big old purse and a backpack.
Yes.
That's great. Uh, but yeah, yeah. I'll definitely stick around for a minute and talk to you about Mystic. It was definitely worth it because I've never been able to go anywhere with him where he's able to do stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, but we're kind of getting to the end there.
Yep.
What is like a couple of like what is like his best victory so far? Yeah, I love to talk about that because I always like to. We always talk about challenges, and sometimes it's a little bit of depressing stuff. But I really like to
Mhm.
talk about, what is a great victory. This is like one of your proudest moments, that really makes it feeling like, raising these kids on the spectrum. It really makes it worth it for you.
So, my greatest, and it's actually pinned on my Instagram. My son doesn't have a first word. His first sentence was that he loves his mom.
Oh,
And that
you
video
did a
is
lot of
pinned.
crying, huh?
Every time I watch that video, I cry. And you can see him in the video. He is putting his all into getting this out. Like you can see his face. You can hear him like stuttering. He tried so hard, and I literally like just bawled. And it was the greatest feeling ever, being a parent that is wondering if your kid will ever say that, you know?
Yeah,
Um, and honestly, like Wyatt is the sweetest kid. He does have self injury behavior problems and he does have aggression problems, but when that kid is lovey, he is lovey. And he all day, Mama, give me kisses. Mama, give me Eskimo kisses. Mommy, I want a hug. Like, it's just so rewarding. It makes every struggle worth it.
yeah, yeah. I hear you there. That's
And
that's fantastic.
yeah, I love that kid more than anything. And honestly, I don't know if you feel the same way as me. This is all I know. So I feel like
Mhm.
it's the parents that have a neurotypical child and then a child on the like this is just life for me.
Right.
So while it's hard, I feel for the parents that got the neurotypical experience first and now they're trying to navigate this because you think you have an idea and then you don't. Like people say all the time, I don't know how you do it. I'm like, well, I know life no differently than this, and neither does Wyatt. So here we go.
I just tell people carefully. How do you
Yeah.
do it? Carefully,
Yeah. Carefully. Yes.
with a first aid kit on hand. Um,
That is funny.
how about yourself? We kind of talked about like the mental strains and stuff. Like what is like a solid one for you where you just like maybe had like this like epiphany or this realization or just like this real moment of gratitude?
Um, so April of 2023, I had finally let it all sink in. I still do I see my therapist weekly. Being a single mom, divorced, with my son's dad not being a involved parent.
Mhm.
April of last year, it all sunk in that this is my life and I am going to do this. I am not, I have to. I am going to do this by myself for the rest of Wyatt's life. Well, no, for the rest of my life because he will unfortunately be without me one day. Um, and I purchased a home for my son and and
Wow,
I decided that I just took charge. Like he has his own bedroom, he has his own bathroom. It was just a huge turning point of my life. Of nope, I'm putting our roots down, and this is us, buddy. This is us, and I'm okay with that.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
Congratulations. That's a
thank
huge
you.
win.
It is, and I just hope. I feel like our kids will always be strong because we are for them. Like there's no
Yeah.
breaking them.
You know what? I have to be real strong.
Strong-willed and strong.
I have to be real strong right now. So, you
Yes.
know how I wouldn't give him that remote a little bit ago?
Yeah, he got it.
No. No,
No.
no, no, no. No, he got mad at me. And instead of aggression, we poured our juice cup into one of my chairs and then sat in our brand new t shirt in the juice puddle.
Yep. I feel you there because same happens in my house, unfortunately.
It's the
I
first
am
time
a
he's wearing your
professional
shirt.
mess cleaner.
We really are.
Yes. Yep.
Oh man, I've learned that peroxide will take stains out of anything.
Peroxide and sunshine. Put it outside in the
Yep.
sun. Yep.
Yeah.
You learn all the tips and tricks. I honestly don't even buy him nice clothes because there's no point. And he'd prefer to not wear any clothes anyways.
What is with that? I mean, you know what?
I
No, like I get it. I get it. They just don't care enough to not do it.
Yep.
I I can't say how many times I've had people over and goes by a fully clothed child and 30 seconds later comes by a butterball naked child.
Yep.
And you're like, what are you
That is
doing?
how it goes.
All right. Do you want to take a couple minutes? And you had mentioned previously you have like an Instagram, you have like some sort of platforms and things that you're doing. Like, talk to us about that,
I
where we can find you.
I am on Facebook. It is just Misty Lynn. All of my stuff is private. So you will have to request me or send me a message. And my Instagram is where most of my stuff about Wyatt is, and that is Wyatt J's underscore mama, or Misty Lynn as well.
Awesome. And you're just kind of like posting like your whole parenting journey. Is that kind of
Yep.
what you're doing with that?
I post I post a lot of stuff about his meltdowns, and then most of it's just like, please be patient. I'm autistic, because a lot of people don't understand that in public. And so that's like
Yes.
our favorite quote is please be patient. um,
Yes.
yeah, because everything that should be quick takes an hour or longer as an
Mm-hmm.
autism parent.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep. And if you can't be patient, mind your business.
Yep. And I am not a quiet mom. I was at the beginning. I am not quiet at all. I will stick
Right.
up for my kid.
Yeah, you kind of have to. You kind of
Yep.
have to. And it's great that you do that.
And
Um,
this is probably was wrong, but there was a lady in front of us on the plane on our way home, and Wyatt was not bad on the way home. He was just fidgety, could not sit still, and I saw her keep rolling her eyes at him. So I just said, "I'm sorry that my son's neuro, or no, what did I say? Oh, I said, I'm sorry that my son's disability is making you uncomfortable, but if you could not roll your eyes at him, like that would be great." And she like totally pretended we didn't exist the rest of the ride, which is just fine. But
that's so
please
funny.
don't, like, and here's the thing, if I stop him from moving, guess what he's going to do? Scream. So what
Right.
would you rather have?
That'll
We
let it
have
stem
to
a little
pick
bit.
here. Yep. So,
So it was like a really, really polite way of being like, "You want these problems, lady?"
yes, like he can sit with you. Like, you think I'm having fun over here?
I do this every day.
Yep. Yep. So that's the other thing too, is like we're doing this every day. You're out in public, you can leave, go home, like we have to go home with them.
Right, right. It's gonna you're rolling your eyes now. He's gonna come to my house and break a lamp later. Okay.
Yep. Oh, I tell, like, I have a used couch. I do not buy anything new because it will all get ruined.
Yeah, I haven't quite brought myself to doing that yet. But I will
Yeah.
wash and steam clean and peroxide
Yep.
everything until I can't anymore. Oh,
Yes.
are you in the broken TV club yet?
I am not, but he's broken other people's TVs, and which is super
Oh,
embarrassing. And I'm always telling people, I'm like, if he breaks it, I'll buy you a new one. And I'm like, I'm gonna make myself poor.
right. So you're in the club by proxy. I
Yes.
I have not I've not gotten to join the club yet, thankfully.
Oh,
Um,
yeah,
but
thankfully. You better knock on wood.
right, right. But I see so many stories about it. It's crazy.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is a thing. He
Yep.
hits the TV. I don't know how it's not broken yet. He has hit the TV. He's thrown his tablet at the TV. His tablet is broken from him smashing it on his head. Like,
Yep.
he hits his head against it and it's like broke.
Yep.
We're on our second tablet.
Only two? I'm up to
Only
four
two right
now.
now.
I'm
Only
up to
two. Uh,
four.
I'm at two.
That they just like Mine has a gamer rage. He loses in a game and he just like hits himself. I'm like, oh my god.
Anything
Um,
that sets Wyatt off, he just starts like hitting it on his head. I'm like, you okay? You good?
I think your pupils. No, you're fine.
Yep.
Yeah, I've had parents see him doing that, and they're like, "You're not going to stop him." I'm like, "You can't."
Nope.
It's like
You
pushing
can't.
water against the tide. He's going to hurt himself, and I'll get him an ice pack, dude. Like,
Yep. And that's the thing is if the more attention you give it to, the longer it's going to last or the more they're going to do it.
that is very very true. And you're just I just I'm also so used to it anymore. Like, I just walk by and I'd be like, "Don't bust your head open." Like,
Yep. Yep.
I
And honestly, being a nurse, like I'm like, if we can avoid the ER, we're going to.
Yep. Yep. I remember the first time he gave himself a really, really bad bruise. And I just looked at him and I'm like, "Oh, I'm going to jail." Fortunately,
Yeah,
I
he's
didn't.
always bruised, always. And honestly, it's crazy as a parent that you think that because honestly, like we are probably um the people who do nothing are the ones that are most nervous about it. But
Yeah.
like I even asked my son's pediatrician, I'm like, he has a lot of bruises. And she's like, well, he's a kid. And I'm like, okay, just making sure that that like this kid just I mean, he stands on his head, he rolls everywhere, he flips himself off the couch. He's literally just everywhere all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And half the time they're like, and then they hurt themselves and they're laying on the ground crying. And it gets to the point where you're like, "I bet you won't do that again more
Yep.
than 3 times." And oh man. Well, you know what? This has been an absolute blast.
Yeah.
Everybody who's listening here, we do have a support group on Facebook now, the Brighter Spectrum Parents of Autism support group. So if you're out there and you find that, join up. There's a whole 5 of us in there.
Woohoo. We'll get it growing for
Yes.
sure.
Yes, I'm waiting to start seeing some like the really good conversations.
Mm.
Because of what I want to do with this group, what a lot of other groups really aren't doing, and like I've snuck my way into some of the mom group. I'll tell you, the dad groups super supportive. Mom groups, y'all are mean to each other, and you need to get it together.
I agree. Mom shaming is awful.
It's
I
so
don't
bad.
even, I know. If you want to feel like a bad mom, even if you're the best, go in a mom group.
Yep. So we're just out here trying to support each other, have these conversations. If I get enough people together, I think I'm going to get a Discord set up, and we can like have like a little monthly group session or something together and hang out and talk and vent and all that stuff. But we're starting with the Facebook group for now, and let's see what happens. Misty, thank you so much for hanging out. This has
Of
been a blast.
course.
It's been a great conversation.
And thank you
Um,
for the opportunity.
yeah, absolutely. And then, maybe in a couple months we'll have you come back and we can revisit Wyatt's progress.
Okay. And of course, there's always so much to talk about.
We really could go for much longer than this. Um,
Yes.
all right. Well, everybody, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for tuning in to the Brighter Spectrum podcast. If you have any comments, questions, or stories to share, or if you'd like to be a guest on the show, feel free to reach out to me at BrighterSpectrumPodcast@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, take care and keep shining a light on the journey of parenting.
Thank you for listening.